Hey everybody, this is Earl with ESP Truck Accessories. Today we're going to be putting on a stealth hitch on this 2022 BMW X5M competition series. We're going to be using the stealth hitches SHR 31038, and then this is the towing conversion system, which is the SHT 25015. So basically what this is going to do is be able to put a trailer hitch on the back. This particular customer is going to be towing a small toy hauler, so we're going to be doing the wiring kit as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop these little caps up here on the back because we have to remove this panel, and underneath it there's a T40 Torx nut or bolt, so we're going to remove that. And then do the other side as well. Make sure you hold on to these because these are going to fall out. So it's a good idea to have some place to put these to where you're not going to lose them. Once we have the gas spring removed from the ball socket, you just take and pull this back. Put it somewhere where it's going to be out of the way. Okay, then the next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to remove this panel here. And there's a series of push-pull clips here. Should be 4 of them. Here, 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 or 5 of them actually, and there. And you just use a flathead screwdriver. Get underneath there. Pop that up. Get a corner under it. Just pull them straight out. Actually, there's 2 more. There's 2 in the back here also. Alright, so it's a good idea to put all your hardware that you're taking off in someplace so you don't lose it. There's 4 T20 Torx head socket bolts. So we're going to remove those. We can also take this piece and just move it out of the way. Okay, and then this piece is going to kind of come up, and you just kind of gotta move it around to get it to come out. Get it away from there, just kind of push it back. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this panel. Alright, we're going to start taking this panel off, and there's going to be an access screw here. You just take something and okay, now that we got the cover exposed, this is an 8mm nut that we're going to take out. Alright, and then back over here there's going to be a 10mm bolt that we're going to need to remove. And that's right in this hole right here. Careful taking it out so it doesn't drop. It's like the game Operation. You don't want to drop anything. Okay, when you take this out, this just snaps out, but you got to be very careful because this has an airbag in it, Okay, so you want to be very, very careful with this so that you don't yank this wire and cause a problem there. Don't disconnect this either, because if you do, you'll have an airbag light once you're finished with the installation. So just set this off to the side. So now there's going to be some more clips. There's one right back here that we need to remove. It's one of those push-pull clips. So get a tool to get that out. That's going to be right here inside. Just pull that out. And just take a note of, when you're taking all this stuff out, that you know where, everything that you took out. See how it just pops out at this point? So there's this. All right, using a trim tool, we're just going to get in behind this panel there and pop that out. And we'll set this aside. And also, we need to take this out. And this is just, you pull down on it and pull it out. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is this panel here comes off. And again, with a trim tool, get up behind it and pop it loose. Just be careful with these things because these can break. Just to the side. All right, so this is off here. There's a trim clip there, and then there's also a trim clip over there, so I'll get those two out as well. Okay, so the panel is pretty close to being loose. It's loose back here. I've got all the trim clips out. This little black piece here is kind of in the way, so I'm just going to pull this out just enough to move it so that we can gain some access. So there's one screw here, a T20, and another one here. And then this piece here, you're going to want to pull this up. Just get it out of the way. Alright, so this will be able to unhook from under there. And then it's kind of under the molding, the weather strip, so just kind of pull back on that. And now it's kind of loose, so now that we just kind of pull this out. Now don't pull too much, because now we've got some plugs that have to come out. So there's this one here. This just pulls in, it pushes in. There was a red safety clip on that came out. And we will, I think it goes in like that. This is just what this does. It allows you to take that out. It just keeps it from being able to be unplugged. So just make sure that when you put it back in, you have this clip back on. And then on the light here, the LED light, this is just, you're going to pop this out from one side and then just slide it in there. All right, so that's getting the interior out to where we have access to the inside of where we're going to be doing our wiring in a little while. Plus, we needed to have access for this to get the rear bumper off as well. So once we get the bumper off, I'll be able to show you where we're going to be coming through with the wiring harness to hook this all together. The next thing we got to do, though, is we have to remove the taillight on this side. Actually, we need to remove them on both sides. So what we do here is we pop this guy off. And this just snaps off. Same with this side. And right in here next to this big fuse box, right next to this white bracket, there's a 10 millimeter bolt or nut that goes way back there. So we need to take that off. And what we're going to do with that is how this light comes off is we have the two Torx bolts here, and then that one. But that one is a stud that goes that way, and to get it out, it's kind of a press fit. So we're going to push it a little bit as before we take the nut completely off. Okay, now we're going to take these out, and these are kind of tight, so just be careful. Don't use a power, because using these sockets, it's kind of, just once you get them loose, you can. All right, so these two are loose. All right, so I got the light free, and now we need to remove the actual light. And I'm going to turn it over very carefully here. And this has another one of those little red safety clips. You pop that out, and then press down on the harness, and it comes out. All right, so the next step we need to do is we got to pull this fender liner, the wheel well opening molding off. And what we're going to do first is I'm going to tape this up with painter's tape, just so that we don't cause any scratches or marring or anything like that. This is so that it just protects it from damage. So just take some painter's tape and just start, putting it in around there, because this piece is going to come off from here, and it's basically, we're going to pull it out and pop the clips, but plastic will still scratch plastic. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull this wheel arch molding off, and as you can see, I've taped up everything here where they're possibly, because this is all going to get pulled out. But once we get this off, there's going to be an 8 millimeter nut that we have to remove, and then we have to start pulling all this stuff loose, and then we'll have to go up underneath the car and get the lower bumper bolts off. So what you want to do is you'll just kind of pull here. There's a tab under here, so just be careful when you pull it. It's going to pop out. Okay, so there it is right there. And then there's clips for these moldings all in here. So if it doesn't, if you can't pull them out like that, you can use a trim tool, but we're just gonna try to pull. So, and then there's these clips here. You don't need to take this thing all the way off, but don't put too much pressure on it, because it might crease it. But there's the 8 millimeter bolt that we need to take off. So we'll take this one off, and then we'll take the other one off as well, and then we'll start pulling it loose. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull on this to pop the clips out of here, which are kind of the same type that are here. And then like up here on the top of the bumper, there's these clips as well. And we'll just start pulling here and bringing it. And then the reason why we have this tape is so that, nothing breaks. Okay, so these I think we just push down out with a screwdriver, and that'll release those. So, because you don't want to break any of these clips, because if you do, then you have to make a trip to the dealer, and that's just not something you want to have to do. Oh, I see there's another 8 millimeter right here that needs to come off. So we'll take that off as well. This one, and this one. that should allow us to get this last clip off. Just want to be careful with there. All right. So do the same on this side. Pop these clips loose. All right, next thing there's a bunch of those little push clips on the bottom or on the top of the bumper here. And how we're gonna get to those is we're gonna manually kind of just push this. And just kind of see where you can get to them. So like this one I'll be able to get to just like that. And be very careful not to scratch anything. And then this one same way. And then we'll have to move the tailgate a little bit more to gain access to those. Let's see, so there's two more. There's one there and one there. Okay, the next part we're going to remove is this bottom piece. There's at least 10 millimeter nut bolts that come out of here. And we'll just start taking these off. All right, the next thing we're going to do, there's 3 10 millimeter bolts on the bottom of the bumper here next to the exhaust pipes. I've already got them off on the other side, so we're just going to pull these 3 off. Okay, so behind this reflector, there's an 8 millimeter bolt on each side. I've already got the other side out, but how you're going to do this is just kind of get it in here and pry it, and bring that out. So you get the top clip out and then kind of pry in the middle and then get that out, and then you'll see that bolt right there. Okay, we've got the bumper off, and we've just got it out of the way here. And on the driver's side, or passenger side, I'm sorry, there's this plug. This is where all the backup sensors are. There's a harness that goes on here. You just squeeze the 2 tabs and pull back. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull this piece off, which is just, we're just going to put that up out of the way, and just so we can access the bumper. So we've got this off, and there's 1 or 2 options at this point. We could just disconnect it, which is what I think I'm going to do instead of trying to tie wire this thing out of the way. Okay, so the next thing we got to do is loosen these exhaust brackets, 1 on each side. It's a 13 millimeter bolt, and just take those off, and then this is just going to rest on the cradle down here. Next thing we got to do is we're going to take this part of the wiring harness off. Just going to use a trim tool clip to pop that out, because we're going to be taking this part off and we're not going to be reusing it. We're going to be reusing the hardware, but we're not using the reinforcement. The hitch is going to now be the bumper reinforcement. So next what we're gonna do is take this off here, these 2 bolts, and then we'll bring it back down a little bit, and we'll lower the tailgate, and then that way we can get the two top bolts on each side. All right, so here's there's a couple brackets. These are going to be for the exhaust because the brackets were on the rear bumper reinforcement before. Now we're having to put these on the hitch. So here's the hitch, and that's just going to basically bolt onto the back where we took off the rear bumper reinforcement. So this is going to go up in here, and you got to kind of be careful because this wiring harness is in the way, and you see I put tape on the bottom here. So we're going to just kind of slide this up in behind this. And you get your workout today too. All right, so when you're putting this on, you want to make sure that the tailgate is kind of at an angle, because of this bracket will get in the way of here if you have it closed. So basically, I just brought this under there, and then slid it on the studs. All right. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to just kind of make sure that this is center, and these holes are elongated so that you have side to side. But you just want to, what I do is I just look and kind of eyeball it, make sure they're in the center there, and then we're going to use the factory bolts or nuts to put it back on. Okay, so I've put the top 2 on each side, top 2 nuts on each side, and then what we need to do next is we need to put these brackets on. These are the exhaust brackets. So you can tell which side goes where. This one's going to be for the driver's side, because you can kind of see how it's going to go up in there. Okay, so I've got the exhaust brackets on, and I've put a bolt and a nut through there, and I've tightened this one up. And now we're going to go over on this side and tighten this one up. All right, so now we can go ahead and tighten the bolts for the bumper hitch. And I'm just going to snug these for it right now, because again, we need to make sure they're kind of even center. Okay, so now we've got this all on. It's all bolted up and tight. I've reattached the wiring on this and just kind of letting it hang there for a minute, because eventually it's going to go back into these 3 holes here. But we need to put on the towing companion kit, which is basically, it's going to be the brackets with the tow hooks on it, and the bracket for the 7-pin connector. So this was in the box. Okay, and these keys were in here, so this, just pop that out, take the keys out, and just set them aside for now. All right, so we're going to put this on, and the orientation is kind of important. You take the curve where it's going to be pointing towards the front, slide that around, and just kind of get that, and then it's lined up there. Then take the square block, put it in the thing, and then just put one of the bolts through, and then the other bolt through, and just get it lined up there. And then we can take the other 2 brackets. Again, make sure this is like that. Push that through, and then this is going to go over here like that. And then we'll take these lock nuts, these nylock nuts, and we're gonna get those started. I'll get this all tightened down and then we'll be back in a minute. All right, we're gonna get these tightened up, and these require 150 foot-pounds of torque to be tightened up. So we're gonna just get it started. And these are nylock nuts, so they're, you know, once they're torqued down, they're not coming back off. The nylon keeps them from backing off with vibration, rough road conditions. All right. So when you hear that click, that means it's at the torque it needs to be at. All right, so that's in. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna drill the hole for the wire harness. And you can see this harness that's going through the body right here. There's 2 dimples in there. You can go ahead and use a 3/8 drill and punch through there. Just be careful when you're drilling so that you're not going to the wires. You can kind of see that this is going at an angle, so you wanna, I'm gonna use the bottom, and when I drill, I'm gonna go that way a little bit, just so I'm not in the way of the wiring. Okay, so now we're getting ready to run the harness out to the hitch, and that's going to be done. I drilled that hole and drilled it out to 3/8 of an inch. And what I also did is I put some WD-40 on it. That just kind of helps pull the wiring through the harness there, or the grommet. Makes it easier to get it through. So you can do it one or 2 ways. If you can just start fishing this, then you can just pull it through. Otherwise, you can also use it like a fish tape to pull it. So I'm going to try just to power it through this way first, and then go from there. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the connections here at the 7-pin connector. And how we're going to do that is first we got to take the actual connector out and just loosen up the screws on the sides, and you can hear that it's loose there. And then loosen the set screw here as well. Not that that's necessary at this point, but just and this is only going to go in one way apparently. All right, so now we have these here, and when it goes back in, this bottom, it can't go this way. It can only go back in one way. So that way we know where the wires go. So we're just going to set this to the side. Right now, hang on to this and this. Now we need to strip back all of these wires, because they're all going to go onto one of those pins. And I'm using a Blue Point wire stripper, and just give it a good pull. All right, I pulled the wiring through. I haven't tightened it down or anything yet, because I may still need to pull more. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all the connections on the back of the connector. So all these are going to get loosened up. And you want to just, get them all, don't take them off, just loosen them as much as you can get. Because the wire is going to go in between the back part and this front piece. And 90% of your wiring problems are going to come from this plug. So it's really important to make sure that everything is tight and you know, you've got good connections and everything else. And so what I've done here is on these is I've twisted these. It's possible you could probably put terminal ends on these and put them in, and it'd be a little bit better, but I'm not sure if there's enough room inside of here once it goes back down, if there's going to be enough room in there. So we're just going to leave it like this. So how we do this is this keyway slot is where we're going to start. You're going to always put it down. I guess we could do the first one for the center is going to be the purple wire. So if you wanted to start with that one, just get that one out of the way. Make sure it's, you give it a little tug, make sure that there's that. So again, we find the keyway, which is there. So the first one to the left is going to be your blue wire, and it's in the instruction sheet here. So basically we're going to go from the keyway left clockwise: blue, green, black, brown, yellow, white. So don't expect everybody to remember that, but we're going to go ahead and get them started. And you don't want any wire strands sticking out, because that can cause a short. All right, so we've got this all wired in. All the connections are nice and tight, which is how you want it. So then you're gonna just pull this forward and kind of line it up to that keyway. Let's see, where's that keyway at? Should be right. This is the keyway, so just pull it until it sets in. Okay, and go ahead and tighten these side screws. And then with this, we're going to take and push this back in, just because this is the seal. So we want to just push it in there, and then take this one and crank this down. And that will make a nice watertight seal in there, so that no water gets into the connectors. So, all right, so I'm gonna bolt the plug to the mounting bracket, which is gonna go here. But basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it like this, and then this is gonna come like, it's gonna pull out towards the driver's side. So how that is, the tab for this is gonna go towards the bend on the bracket, and you're gonna put a couple of the screws in just to get them started. And we'll tighten those up in a minute. Okay, we've got this panel back on, and that just snaps on. You only use 3 out of the 5 clips here, right there. And then we've also got the wiring harness, the 7-pin connection in there, where it comes down like this. So it's all bolted up. And I've run the wiring harness back. I've zip tied it to the hitch, 3 spots. See the harness back there. And then we're just going to clip off the zip ties. And then I've also zip tied here to kind of keep this from rattling around. Remember, when we took this clip out of the bumper reinforcement, there was a hole in there and there's no spot for it, so I just zip tied it to this harness here. All right, so that's all together. And the last piece we're going to put back on is this little panel that we took off. And this is just gonna snap back on in place. And then we'll put the clips back on when we put the bumper back on. We're not putting the bumper back on yet because we still need to check wiring. We still need to do the wiring back here and then test this before. We don't want to put the bumper back on if there's something wrong. Better to find out before it's on than after. So we'll bring this down and then we'll do the connections for inside the vehicle, and then we'll start putting everything back together. Okay, we're going to start making some connections here. What I've done is I've brought the white and black and the yellow wires under here, and I've taped them together and then zip tied them along the harness. I terminated the black wire right by the battery because that's where it's going to connect. This is the ground, that there's a terminal that's going to go on there with a 10mm bolt, and then this is for the left tail and brake lights. So I'm going to go ahead and get some connections made and show you how they work. I'm going to go ahead and cut these two wires, the brown and the green, just because they don't need to be that long. And then we're going to find the wires back here in the harness. There's going to be a green with a blue stripe and a purple. So that's what we're gonna connect to. So the green wire is going to go to the green with the blue stripe, and then the brown wire is going to go to the purple. So what we do is we use the supplied, these basically what they do is they go over the wire and then you just crimp them down. I think I'm going to use a different type of connection because I don't particularly care for these, so I'm going to get a different connector and I'm going to put those on instead. Okay, all the connections are made now. Here's the connection on the battery. Notice I have the fuse out. I haven't put the fuse in yet. Here's the ground over here. The yellow wire goes into the green wire with the blue stripe on this side. And then on this side we have same green. The green goes to green with blue, and then the brown goes to the purple. On the box down here, down there, I used the double-sided tape and stuck it to the side of the thing. So now, if everything goes all right, when I put the fuse in, it shouldn't pop, and we can go ahead and test all of our functions down at the pin. Now, when I turn the turn signals on up here, the light's going to flash quickly down here because it's you know, the turn signals aren't plugged in. So what I'm going to do is supplied in the kit is this 7-pin to 4-pin converter, and that'll at least get me all my turn signal, brake, and running lights. All right, we're gonna start with testing the brake lights and the tail lights. Well, first we got the headlights on, so I'm gonna probe that one, so that works. That light comes on. And then we're gonna do left turn signal. So that's the center one. Right turn signal. And that's the outer one. All right, and then brakes. All right, so we got brakes on both of those. So all the lights work on it. There was 12 volts in there. The only thing we don't have is the blue wire attached for the brake controller, but we don't have one of those to install at this point, so we're gonna leave that one alone. So all the wiring works, so now I'm just gonna get everything back together, and then there's one more thing that we need to do, and that's to cut the bottom piece. And that's going to be this piece right here. So basically we're just going to cut on each one of those tabs, either with a grinder or a knife or something like that. I'm going to use a grinder, and then we'll make it smooth once it's done. So we've cut this out and just kind of cleaned it up so that there's no rough edges or anything like that. So when you putting your hand up there, it's not going to cut you or anything. So it's trimmed up. All right, well, we're all finished with the installation portion of it, the wiring. Here's the, I've cut this panel out here more to accommodate for the wiring harness, and also to be able to get the keys in here. And how this works, when the hitch isn't in use, of course this one he's going to need a 2 5/16 ball. It only came with a 2-inch ball in the kit. But in order to release this, there's a little handle up here that you twist. Get up in there and you just twist it, and that releases it. And then to put this back in, you just click that and it snaps in, and it's not going anywhere. And then it also has these keys here that you can lock this in place. So like if you're not using, if you're gonna leave this on, which I don't recommend because your shins always find them, but if you're gonna leave it on, you can lock it. But then, there's up in there is the barrel lock, and then just use the key to unlock it. And if you have big hands, it's kind of awkward. So, and then it unlocks, and then you just twist it again, put that inside, and then there's a rubber grommet that goes up into there to keep water out and such. So this rubber plug goes up into the hole when it's not in use. That keeps the weather out of that ball area where it's gonna, so you don't get any corrosion. And to remove it, you just pull down on it like that. And when you're only using a 4-pin, you're going to use this 7-pin to 4-pin converter, and just make sure that it's in there, and then you can plug in your flat 4 wiring there. And then when you're not using it, just close that up and put that back in. And then you can put the little rubber cap over the lock so that doesn't get corroded either. So, and there we have it. This is the stealth hitch for this BMW X5M competition series. It's a really nice car. Wasn't a bad install. Took a little longer than we expected, but it was still a clean installation. So we have these available on our website at ESPtruck.com. And you can give us a call at 951-858-3418. Thanks for watching.